Hello, welcome back to my channel. I hope you were having a fantastic day whenever you've decided to click on this video. Today I'm going to be doing my February reading wrap-up. I am kind of excited to bring you this video, also kind of sad because I only ended up finishing 5 books this month, which is easily the least amount of books that I've read in a month since starting YouTube. But you know what? I was reading books that weren't that great, and also I was just busy, which never happens, and frankly, I want my life back. And by life, I mean the life where I'm not busy, the life where I don't really have things going on, so I can make content for you. I will tell you about the 5, frankly, mediocre books that I read this month, and then the 2 books that I DNF'd. So, first off, let's start out with the DNFs, because, like last month, I cannot remember for the life of me what these books are about, but I'm just going to tell you that I attempted to read them. First up, we have Drive Me Wild by Melanie. Harlow. I do actually remember the character names for this book, and I also do remember that it wasn't bad, actually. I just kind of got bored. So, this book is about Blair and Griffin. Blair comes to town. She's, like, leaving her family. She was going to get married. She, like, escapes in a wedding dress in, like, a getaway car, and she decides not to marry the man she's supposed to marry. Very much like Rachel and Friends vibes, and she escapes to the small town where she is going to open up a bakery or something like that. She ends up like breaking down on the side of the road in her car in a different small town, and this guy named Griffin, who works at an auto body shop, I think he owns his own garage, he ends up helping Blair and having her stay with him until she can like put the funds together to get her car fixed so she can go to the small town she wanted to open her bakery in. There were elements of this book that I enjoyed. I felt like the overall chemistry between Blair and Griffin was believable. I liked that the conflicts and the plot were very clear from the beginning. I think what really didn't totally work for me about this book, and the reason why I ended up DNFing it, was Griffin's reluctance to get into a relationship with Blair didn't really make sense to me. We're kind of given hints that he might have been burned in the past by like a former flame, and yet we don't really get any context for that. I mean, maybe we do later on in the book, but at the beginning you're just like, why is he being like this? You guys obviously have this instant attraction, you fell in bed together, and then you obviously really like her and appreciate her help. She's like trying to get more business to his auto body shop, so it just didn't really make sense why he was treating Blair the way that he was. Ultimately, it just felt like there was too much push and pull, like, will they, won't they? Like, yes, they were sleeping together, but like, would they end up in a relationship? Who knows? And at the 40% mark, I set this book down, and then a month later, I was like, I don't really want to finish this, so I officially DNF'd it in February. I'm trying to be better about being realistic with my DNFs. I feel like the reason last year that I had so many 2-star reads was I just finished books that I didn't enjoy. And usually, if a book's going to be 2 stars, I can tell within the first 20% that that's going to be the case. Sometimes my mind has changed, but usually if I'm not liking a book at the beginning, I am not going to massively change my mind. I should just set the book aside and then pick something else up. Like, that is the logical choice, and I did that a lot more this month. It felt good. I say a lot more. I mean, I only DNF'd one other book, but The Scott Benz's Wife by Kerrigan Byrne is a book that I owned, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna read this month. I'm in a historical romance mood, and this book totally let me down. I don't really remember much about this book. I just know that I was bored out of my skull. It was, I think, like a marriage of convenience sort of situation. I honestly don't really remember. I felt like the hero in this book was not the best, and I felt like the prologue to this book was just needlessly traumatic, which is kind of the case for most of Kerrigan Byrne's prologues, and I'm getting kind of sick of it. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I understand that a lot of historical romance authors have like a shtick and have like a thing that they want to stick with, whether that's like a quirky heroine or a traumatic prologue for all of your books. I think I mentioned this last month, but like, it's very much true. Like, authors have formulas, especially in the historical romance genre, and that's not to say that that's bad or like the books can't be good if there's a formula involved, but I'm finding that maybe like Kerrigan Byrne's formulas are getting old for me, or getting a little tired. I do like some of her books. I still stand by like The Highwayman is like fantastic historical romance, and there's one other one that I can't remember the name of that I really enjoyed by her that I think I gave like 4 or 5 stars, but in the recent past I just have not been having the best luck with her stories, so I don't know if I'm going to pick up more of her books down the road. I think this was the last of her books that I own. Fingers crossed. If it's not, then you'll see me reviewing whatever other book I own by her, hopefully soon-ish this year. I don't know. This one was DNF, and wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Now we can talk about the 5 books that I did finish. I don't think I said this at the beginning of the video, but I actually typed up notes prior to this video. I was very excited to like be coherent, have really good things to say, and yet for some reason my iCloud did not sync and I don't have the notes. So I'm just gonna be freewheeled having a good time, hoping to explain these books in a good way. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. First up, we have Mate Her by Jenica Snow. what can I say about this book? How can I justify the fact that I read this book? I was in the biggest reading slump. I think I had initially DNF'd these 2 books before I picked up Mate Her, and I was just like, you know what? I need something short and smutty to get me through. I need to finish something. I need to feel accomplished. I need to be refreshed. For some reason, I thought the answer to that was a reverse harem alien romance. Was this entertaining? It certainly was. Was this like peak literature? Obviously not. So this story is about, I don't know any of the characters' names, I'll be honest. It's about this girl who ends up on this planet, and she is rescued from, I think, like a wild beast or something, like an alien predator. She's rescued by 3 alien dudes. I think they're like big and red and have wings or something like that, but they're like hot, humanoid aliens. They pick her up and they're like, hey, you're coming home with us. We want you to have all of our babies. So she does it. I don't know, it was kind of sweet and romantic. I'll be honest, I was not expecting it. It was definitely longer than a lot of the other like smutty stories I usually read. And frankly, like, it was a fun time. Would I pick up the other books in this series? No. Do I usually enjoy alien stories? No. Not to shame anyone who enjoys them. I know a lot of people like, you know, the Ice Planet Barbarian series. I get it. I understand the appeal there. It's not totally for me. Like, I had a fun time reading this. I wanted something kind of out of the box, but this is not my usual fare, and I don't know that, like, it's not that I wouldn't recommend it. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. I think I give this book 3 stars. It was fun. If you're looking for something like that, if you're in the market for like a romantic smutty book, like, go for it. You know, it's like, was there a lot of sex? Yeah, but like, they protected her on this like really intensely hot planet that they brought her to, and like made sure she was fed, and I don't know. Romance, baby. Romance. November 9 by Colleen Hoover. For some reason, I'm on a quest to read all of Colleen Hoover's books. Do I regret that decision? I do. November 9 is a story about this girl, and she got in a really bad house fire at her dad's house, and she hates her dad already, and now her dad's treating her weird because she wanted to be an actress, but he doesn't think she can be an actress now that she has like a scarred face, and kind of she's struggling a little bit at the beginning of the story. She is like at dinner with her dad before she leaves LA for New York so she can like go and act on Broadway or something. I don't know. Like, she's gonna seek an acting career for herself, not in Hollywood, and her dad's just being generally shitty, and a guy walks up and is like pretending to be her boyfriend so that dad treats her less shitty or something. I don't fully understand like why this man just walked up to her, sat in her booth, and was like, yeah, I'm this girl's boyfriend. But I think you're supposed to think it's like romantic or sweet or something. And it kind of starts a real relationship between these 2 characters. I think the guy's name is Ben. I cannot for the life of me remember our heroine's name. And they end up meeting up on November 9th every year because like they kind of have a thing for each other, right? After this like interaction that they have at this restaurant. They can't be in a relationship because she's moving across the country, but they're going to meet up every November 9th for the next 5 years or so. Maybe eventually be in a relationship after that. The deal is just strange. I'm just gonna put that out there. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but they're young, so I'm willing to forgive it. But Unfolded was just not something I was into, and I don't really understand the appeal of this book because here's the deal, and this is what I was sussing out when I was trying to figure out what about this book didn't work for me compared to other Colleen Hoover books that do work for me. And what I've determined is Colleen Hoover really likes exploring different themes around morality and kind of getting you to think like, you know, I thought this was wrong in real life, but like, in this story, it's like tugging on my heartstrings, and, you know, like, I don't know. And her twists kind of always focus around that, or surround that sort of like idea of morality and like what's right and what's wrong. And I think your ability to enjoy individual stories by her is really going to depend on whether that twist is something you are willing to overlook. And in this book, the couple of twists and the couple of like reveals were not things I was personally okay with, mostly because they focused heavily on lying. I'm not going to spoil this book if you want to read it, but I don't personally appreciate lying between partners, and I guess you could argue that no, you really can't make an argument in this story. I was trying to think like, maybe there's a way to justify this, but for me there just was not a way to justify the actions of certain characters in this book. I didn't feel like the romance was built on a solid foundation. While I understood the attraction between the characters, because Colleen Hoover writes attraction very well in my opinion, I just didn't root for this relationship. I felt like the story itself was not particularly interesting either. We're just waiting for like the other shoe to drop the entire time. And when the other shoe dropped, I didn't like it. So yeah, this was not a good book for me. I think I give this one 2 stars. I just have such mixed luck with Colleen Hoover, and I never thought that I was going to be someone who would be interested in reading her backlist, but for some reason I've just been in the mood for some kind of like fast food romance. I hate saying that, but like that is kind of how I think of her books, like easy breezy, but also like kind of entertaining. I think her writing style is pretty addicting, but nothing that I'm like just amazed by typically. I also tried to start Reminders of Him this month because Mika got me excited about it again. She's really good at hyping up books. I'll leave a link to Mika's channel in the description down below, but she got me really excited for this one. She had like gotten an arc of it and was like hyping it up, and I was like, I'm gonna read Reminders of Him. I'm not super into it. I was kind of thinking I might do like a whole dedicated vlog to that book though, because I think it would be fun, because I already have thoughts like 20% in, and I don't know, I think it could be fun. Let me know in the comments if that's something you want to see. But I don't know. Why am I reading Colleen Hoover books? I don't know. It's fun, I guess, even if they're not always great. Moving on. I also read a book that is entertaining, but in my opinion, not that great. House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I decided to reread this and carry on with the series because I'm a glutton for punishment. Here's the thing. Am I a hating ass bitch? Yes. Do I actually enjoy Sarah J. Maas books? Also, yes. I am snarky. I like to criticize things, but I can admit that I do enjoy her stories. I think they're fun. I'm going to like criticize them as I see fit, because this is my channel and I like to be honest about my feelings about things, but I like her books generally speaking, and I really want to like this series, even though I didn't have a great time with this first book. But you know what? I think had I read the ACOTAR series back in the day as the books were coming out, I don't know if I would have been super hyped about the ACOTAR series, having only read the first book, you know what I mean? So anyway, all of that to say, I decided to do a reread of this book, and I actually bumped it a whole star. Are we surprised? I'm surprised. I initially gave this book 2 stars. This time around I gave it 3. This book centers around our main character, Bryce Quinlan, and she lives in Crescent City, or Lunathian, something like that. I don't fucking know. She's in this city. There are different quarters that are, I was gonna say owned, that are for different creatures, and like the different creatures have their own like city heads or whatever. And there's also angels and archangels and like gods, and there's a lot of shit going on in this book, and I don't even think I can fully define it. But you know what? If you're watching my channel, likelihood that you've read this book already I think is pretty fucking high, so I'm not gonna explain it to you. This time around, I will say I did enjoy the story more, I think, because I watched like a TikTok recap of like the hierarchy of the leadership in the stories. I think that really helps if you kind of understand not only like what the city structure is and that hierarchy, but also like of the world, how the structure is. I think I can appreciate more to the thought that went into the world itself. Is it confusing? Yes. Do I think the info dubbing in this book is kind of excessive? Also, yes. But I can appreciate how much thought that she put into this book, how much in terms of like political conflicts you can get out of the hierarchies that are being built. The only thing that I just feel like was lacking was like the pacing and the length of this story. I think like honestly, this book doesn't know what it wants to be. It doesn't know if it wants to be an urban fantasy, like paranormal romance kind of thing, or if it wants to be kind of a high fantasy story. And so it kind of straddles that line in a way that I don't think is fully pleasing. For some reason, every time I think about this book, I kind of think about it in comparison to something like the Alona Andrews Hidden Legacy series. Like that is a very well developed hierarchical magical world, and yet the books are only like 350-400 pages. Like they are compact, the plots are really tight, they make sense, the plot's overarching over like a 3-book span. It's well done. And I'm not saying that Sarah J. Maas can't write, or that she can't, you know, make compelling characters and do all of these things. Like she totally can. I just feel like this book is a little directionless in some regards, and I can tell she knows what she wants to do, but it doesn't fully come together. And I know it sounds like I'm just dunking on this book. I did end up bumping it a star because, again, I appreciate the kind of governmental system. Curious to see how she kind of plays on that. There's definitely like oppression at the heart of the story. All of the kind of magical creatures are having to like bend to the wills of like the 6 gods or whatever, the Asteri. There's a lot to explore there, and not only that, but like humans are also present in this world, and they are seen as even lesser than like the magical beings, vampires, fairies, whatever. There's a lot at play here. I like parts of the story. I'm excited to start on the second book. I actually have already started on the second book. I am going to vlog it, but I'm curious to see where this world goes. I have thoughts about this book. I wouldn't say my feelings have changed super drastically, so if you want to hear more of my like in-depth thoughts, I'll leave a link in the description to my House of Earth and Blood vlog. But I had a good time with it, kind of. Like, it was better. I had a good time listening to the audiobook. I listened to the audiobook the first time around as well, but this time I just really let myself chill and enjoy the story without the pressure of having to like vlog the experience. So that's where I'm at. It was fun. It was good. And I'm ready to read the second book, and I am excited to vlog it for you. Anyway, moving on. My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfay. I don't know how to exactly say her last name. This is my first 1-star read in a really long time. My mistake for picking up this book. Was it a cover buy for me? Absolutely. Had I heard people talking about it like positively? Also yes. And so I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna pick this book up and I'm going to be a literary fiction girl. I'm just not. I'm not that girl. I don't want to shit on myself and say that I'm not smart, but I don't really like reading books where the point isn't really there, where the characters are so unlikable, and I'm just like, what's the fucking point of this book? That's kind of how I felt, right? So this book's about our main character, who I don't fucking know the name of, and she is going through it a little bit. She just got like fired from her job, I think dumped by a boyfriend. All she wants to do is sleep. So she ends up finding a therapist who will prescribe her a ton of prescription drugs so she can be in kind of like this drug-induced haze and or sleep all the time so she can just relax and rest for a year. Conceptually, I'm into that, and conceptually, I enjoyed the writing style, but in execution, like combining the snarky writing style and the snarky first-person commentary of our main character with this idea of like working through your trauma kind of through trying to sleep, it just didn't totally work for me, and I think the result was just like hollow bitchiness. Yeah, I don't know, I didn't totally like it, and I'm sure some people in the comments are going to sound off about how our character is traumatized and like she is doing all of the things that she's doing because of that trauma, but I'm sorry. Some of the stuff she went through is stuff that I've personally experienced, and I'm not saying everyone reacts the same way. I'm just saying the reaction could maybe have been a little bit much given the situation. I don't think that her trauma is a reason to treat people around her like shit. She has a best friend who is constantly trying to help her and you know, be there for her throughout the story, and all we get is her internal commentary about how much she hates this girl and how much this girl is just stupid and tries too hard, and then at the end of the book she's used as a really cheap plot twist. I really hated that. That specifically I think was like the nail in the coffin for me. The commentary was kind of fun and I was like maybe willing to overlook that and whatever, give it 2 stars, but the ending of this book specifically, like, no, just no. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, and I just genuinely don't know how this book got away with the ending that it has, because it's insulting, frankly. I hated it. Certain things should not be used as plot twists. I don't know. I get it, but I also hate it. So another book I did not enjoy. Wow, I only have one book. No, I don't have a single book over 3 stars this month. That's pitiful. Okay, anyway, Hit Me With Your Best Scott by Suzanne Enoch, I want to say. I don't know what it is about me and historical fiction at the moment. I think we might be having a breakup, but we can't have a breakup because I have so many of these I need to read, right? And like I could just unhaul them immediately without reading them, but I own them. Like at one point they seemed interesting. I digress. Hit Me With Your Best Scott is about our main character Persephone and our hero Cole, I don't know how to say it. He's from Scotland, and for some reason he's been promised by his mother to marry a British woman. So like him and his 3 brothers grew up in Scotland. His mom didn't live with them. She just had this like edict that, hey, since I married your dad and since I wanted you to grow up in England, you're not going to grow up in England. You're going to grow up with your dad. But our deal is that like I'm going to live in England, your dad's going to live in Scotland and raise y'all. But then once you're of age, you're going to come to England and find a bride, whatever. Convoluted bullshit. I think maybe I would have understood this deal more had I read the prior books in the series, but I was like, you know, it's historical romance. I don't need to read them in order. This book is about the oldest brother, maybe? I don't fucking know. Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know what his deal is, but anyway, he's forced to find a bride. Sorry, I had to switch my angle because my camera was overheating underneath my windshield, so I'm gonna try to act quickly, talk quickly. I also only have 4 minutes left on my SD card. Wow. We're really struggling today. This man is supposed to find a bride. She has to be a proper English woman, except for he ends up like falling for this delightful young actress, and you know, in the olden days, actresses are whores. So he ends up finding this actress who he likes instead, and he wants to marry her. He also has to protect her because someone's after her and wants to kill her. So even though he's fighting his attraction to her because he knows that he can't marry her because she's like an actress, yeah. There's a twist that comes in this book that I felt like was way too predictable. It irritated me, and then the overall plot of this book was just so fucking boring, frankly. Like, I was bored out of my goddamn skull. I have never spent so long reading a book and wishing I wasn't reading the book than I did with this one. I really should have taken the same approach that I did with The Scott Benz's Wife and just DNF this shit at 20%, but I owned it. I bought it recently as well, and I was like very excited about it. Like, the premise seemed intriguing. It ended up not being very intriguing. So tragically, this book was 2 stars. It just like wasn't it. And I'm at a loss. Like, what historical romance is going to work for me? I don't know. I really don't know if any of them will. And that's it. Those are all of the books that I read in the month of February. Thanks for sticking around this long if you have watched this entire video. I say this long, it's not a very long video, but listening to me bitch might not be your cup of tea. And I get that. I'm hoping that next month is better. This month, I guess, it's March 1st when I'm filming this video. I hope this month is better. I have actual plans to make videos. Will it happen? I don't know. I'm trying to read House of Sky and Breath and Sky. I can't remember the order of the words since I started it. I'm like interested in it, need to vlog it. And then I'm currently working my way through this Kindle Unlimited reading vlog. Maybe something will be posted this month, who knows? But thanks so much for watching. Love you so much. And until whenever I decide to post a video.